This is one of the rare synagogues you will ever see. In this project that I designed in Israel, I went back in time, 2 years after the destruction of the temple, when prayers began in the synagogues. I tried to restore, at the client's request, a rich and unique synagogue structure as they would have built them back then. Regarding the structure from the outside, he wanted to look a bit like the Beis Hamikdash. And that's how I started researching the antique style buildings and imagining how a building 13 by 11 could hold up a ceiling without no columns in the middle, and how would the high walls have stood then without having a support every few meters. And here we'll share with you the first design, although we made some changes along the way. It was important to me that every element in the structure should be seen how it's connected to the floor, and of course I shouldn't see no electric body. And so I began by combining marble and stone with columns that would hold this whole structure of the ceiling. With imaginary wooden beams that go from side to side. In addition, the columns are connected by a triangular arch both to the ceiling and to the columns on both sides. Regarding the lighting, it was very important to me that no light fixtures should be seen at all. Rather, they will feel all the light is natural from the sunlight or from the many candle chandeliers in the ceiling. That is why the ceiling is built with openings, sharp and rough lines that will give the feeling of a real opening in the ceiling, which lets daylight in when the lighting itself is actually behind the frosted glass. On the gallery floor, I decided to surround all the gates with wood paneling instead of curtains, so that the light can enter from the windows and still give the mystery to the space. In the lower part, the left wall is a sliding wall that opens up into another room. And on it we put paintings in the shape of the opposite wall, which will give the feeling of a real wall. Regarding the colors, all the walls are painted in a light marble color, combined with touches of gold, and many decoration elements, as well as wall and ceiling paintings. I added a rough stone between the smooth marble, which would add the feeling of the materials that they used back then. Alexander and Kodesh, which is the holiest place in the synagogue, out of wood, with elements of objects from the temple. I also designed it in the Chazan's and Rebbe's chair, the same but in small. I moved on Kodesh away from the crowd with a rounded and elevated platform and the beautiful fence around it. It will give a sense of holiness, distance, and differentiation from the crowd. And is built as a room by itself, so the Rebbe enters the Kodesh when he opens the parochas, like he used to do in the buildings of the ancient synagogues. The building from the outside, both from the front where the main entrance to the building is, and also from the back side, which you can see from afar, the client wanted to be similar to the Beis Hamikdash. The challenge in the center of the front wall was that the wall itself is in the shape of a rectangle, and I had to make it square that people will recognize at the first glance the familiar design of the temple, with the familiar columns on the sides. That's why I added a fake step to it, and into the 4 columns under it, the depression would be of a square and tall structure, and not a rectangular one. In addition to the structure of the temple, it was important to me to design the feeling of the courtyard that was around it, so that it looks and feels like the old Jerusalem, that the building itself sits inside the courtyard that was around it. And above it stands out, with difference in height, the building itself. That's why I put a roof over the entrance to the synagogue, with columns between the railing, with the same doublings. And above them, in a different ending from the temple ceiling, at a lower height in the roof. And this will give a feeling, as back then there's a courtyard between the temple and all around, with essential familiar buildings standing out high above it. In the center of the wall, I put very narrow circle steps that children can't climb on it. And above them is a large golden door that will draw the eye to the ground and from there to the top to see the size, height, and uniqueness of the building above it. In the entrance lobby, I wanted to feel that they were entering a special place. So the part below is darker and built of stone, and the upper third is disconnected and lets in light from the hidden lighting fixtures. And here's some more photos from a project planning. Hope you enjoyed it, like it, and see you on the next project.